Alright, so we're going to be doing a little bit of weight reduction in this video, but last video the audio didn't record at the end, so I'm going to attempt to show you guys. See how smooth that is? There's no bucking at all. And I have some plastic on order for the seats, so we're going to be doing away with the factory seats. See how smooth that is? Alright, I'm going to stop here. Dead stop. Look how smooth that is. No butterfly valves. But yeah, GoPro just hasn't been recording audio sometimes, and then sometimes it doesn't record video and it only records audio. And it makes it really hard to make videos for you guys. And then all the audio only goes to the left. I'm still trying to figure that out. But let's just get to the shop. I'll show you guys what we're doing today. Hopefully this recorded. Hopefully. Look at this. Smooth. Alright, so I'm extremely shocked that all of that recorded on the GoPro. So what we're going to be doing today, keep in mind, this is probably going to be my last ride for a while. But we're removing the phone mount, we're getting rid of these things, and I'm going to have to check underneath for the paint. We're going to be getting rid of both seats, and we're probably going to be pulling the gas tank. So this is just a bolt, this is 2 bolts, these 2, and then we're also gutting the rear trunk, which I will show you guys here in a minute. But I am trying to go as weight savings as possible. I do think as well, probably not today, but in this video, I'm probably going to go ahead and finish this thing off. Now that this is damaged, I don't really care for the speedometer. I don't. It's way off. It pisses me off. I don't like that there's no way to fix it. We're just going to go with the GPS speedometer or my phone. I'm going to try to find a way to mount the phone somewhere else that isn't this. We'll see, or I might just not mount a phone at all, but I want as weight savings as possible. I'm going to weigh this thing out too. If it's not hateful, I might add it back in, but every little ounce is going to count. All right, guys, so here's where we're at. This is what we've got removed so far. You can see there's no trunk piece. So these are the bolts for the factory gas tank. They go up here into the frame. So I'm hoping that this isn't going back on. All right, so that's the weight that I've taken off so far. These have a couple of ounces of weight. This in the back, we're not going to use that. This has some weight to it. This has some weight to it. This has some weight to it. And this has some weight to it. Now keep in mind, none of this stuff is drastic, all right? It's all little things that help accomplish our goal down the road, like getting rid of this swing arm and putting another one on. What's that going to shave, like 5 pounds? You know what I mean? Like, it's all this little stuff, and then things like this I have to add back on for obvious reasons, because obviously we need a catch can, because this going into the motor is not acceptable. I'm still waiting on those fucking zip ties. But yeah, so what I think I'm going to do is I'm going to cut these brackets off right here, because when we make the flat piece, it's going to sit underneath of here and go the whole way under, and then we'll probably drill a hole or two, put some aluminum rivets in there, and like I said, it'll go to there. Things like that. Probably get rid of this factory zip tie, cut all these little nubs off in here. We're probably going to cut these nubs off as well. We're not going to need those. Registration and all that, ain't going to need that. And then basically a fuel cell. Now, I have some inspiration on how I want to build the fuel cell. I do want to keep the fuel pump as low as physically possible. These are the 3 fuel tank lines, which actually I don't think we'll need when we do the fuel cell. So probably just going to pull them out any way that I can. I put those in there, but like I said, I don't think we're going to need those. Got rid of this guy. I did clean up a little bit. There is some gouging there. Not really a big deal, because when these fairings go bad, I'm going to end up replacing them anyway. Doing as much as I physically can without switching over to carbon fiber, because the carbon fiber bodywork for this thing is like $3,000. The wheels are like $4,000, so it's just one of those. And then that stuff doesn't last forever, so that kind of makes it hard for me too. I have wheel covers coming for front and rear for aerodynamics. Just setting this thing up as much as I can. I don't care how street drivable it is, or rideable I should say, because I mean this is pretty much going to be a fucking track bike by the time I'm done with it. But a lot of weight savings. To get this thing down to the 401 pounds that it was, I'm curious as to what it weighs right now. If it were up to me, I'd be chopping this whole fucking upper end of the swing arm off, but I know it needs it for support. And then rotating mass is a big difference. No rear brake, no front brake, aluminum sprocket, cutting this piece out, cutting these out. So that's just where we're at with it. If you want to run a motorcycle for racing, I feel like a car would have been cheaper, but who knows. And then also this winter with doing a 750 swap, I'm going to try to leave everything off until we're finished. These two pieces here should be in by Wednesday this week. And then the gas tank guy, I got to go get a quote from him to see how much he's going to charge me to make one of those. So the cool part is if I fuck up, these things are replaceable, these subframes here. Now, we're not going to take this bracing out. I'm not going to do that because obviously it needs it for the side to side. They need to be connected unless, no, those don't run all the way across. So going to trim out all of this down here, and then we're going to trim this piece off. We're going to get this off. These are the bolt holes for the tail. Here's the tail light. These things are so cheap. I mean, super cheap. But like I said, we're just going to chop this, chop that, and then I'll show you the end result. I just moved this out of the way so I didn't cut it or hit it or nick it or anything like that. But we're going to make it look super smooth. We're also going to get rid of these right here, make those nice and smooth. That'll make it easier to put the seat mount on there. And then here's where the seat bolt holes were. So let's start get to chopping. I might take the battery out too to get to this one here. All right, we got all this shit cut off, all that stuff cut off. Try to make it look as clean as possible for when we paint it. Obviously, I'm going to throw everything back together and mock it up. This piece here, might do a quick piece of cardboard while this is off because it's so much easier to make while it's off. I can just plop a piece of cardboard in there, trace it out and around. These will be the bolt holes right here, and then we'll probably put two little pop rivets there like I was saying. But everything's cut off. I got in here as best as I could. Got this guy chopped off and then blew it all out. Battery is probably gonna go with the lightweight version of that. This fucker is heavy, so this stuff here will go in the scrap bin. We're not gonna use any of that, but that's how she looks right now with nothing on her. So there you go. Got to get this thing a good detail eventually as well. But once we get those black wheel covers, I think at this point, bike's just going to stay torn down until we get the tank and the wheel covers. And we'll go from there. We'll see. I'm probably going to trim a little bit more out of this thing because if you can see it's straight on one side, it's oblong on the other. I got to take more material out of the other side to make it a perfect circle. But other than that, I mean, coming apart pretty good. Now it's the reverse of disassembly, reassembly. All right, so this is mock-up number one. This is gonna sit in here just like this. This is what will make the piece of plastic. See that? So, and then once we get it in place, I can drill the two holes for the rivets. But there you go. I'm gonna get these two bolts out. Obviously, we're gonna go to some lighter weight bolts down the road. I'd like to switch everything out to titanium. That should cut quite a bit of weight, but we'll see. Let's get this tail section on and see how she looks. All right, here you go, guys. This is the trunk. This is only mock-up because the tail light's still out. So now I need to make one for the front section. But this is how it's pretty much going to bolt in. We'll do the rivets later. I want to see how sturdy the plastic is before I just start drilling holes into this. We'll see. This little lippage here is to keep it, it helps keep it stronger, so we're not going to cut any of that out. Unless, I guess it might, well, no, because of this, but I mean, yeah, we'll see. We'll see what else we do, but in the meantime, yeah, I need to get a piece made to go all the way up to pretty much cover this. That's the goal. I want it to stop like right about here. So that one should be a lot easier. So it's just gonna have 2 bolts right here. And to be honest, I might trim those down, because then the plastic would just sit perfectly on this whole thing up to right about here. Might trim this out too so it can just sit flush. So yeah, I think I'm gonna do that. I'm gonna get this thing pulled off, and that's the next thing I'm gonna do, is ground that down. Don't worry, the hole goes the whole way down through, so not really a big deal. So it seems like I've been a lot more active on the personal channel, and I hope you guys are enjoying this stuff on here. But we got the cardboard mocked up for both sides. You guys can see here, this sits flush. So I have, these will be here tomorrow, these plastic pieces here, and this is about where it's gonna sit, and then we're gonna use this as a guide to, I don't know if I'm gonna reuse the factory bracket there, I'm not sure. But I got word back today from the fab guy. He said send over the measurements and all that stuff. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna try to fab this up myself with cardboard and see what I come up with. Remember, the ones that I'm seeing are like, they're really low, and that's cool and all, but my realistic goal here is I at least need to get 3.5 gallons out of it. So if you guys look, this is 1 gallon right here. This is a gallon. I swear this is leaking from somewhere. Thanks, Josh. That probably leaked all over my table. Oh, it did. That's awesome. That's cool. Thanks, Josh. I thought I was being responsible by leaving that there. I'm gonna take these out. I can't win with either of these jugs. This one's leaking from somewhere, and this one has a cut here. Thanks, Josh. All right, so back to what I was saying. I would like, that was a gallon, all right? So as cool as the ones are, I'm thinking realistically, we're probably just gonna hit flush at the top here. And then I think there will be a little angle right here. So I'm gonna try to put the fuel pump down in this area. You can see with the fuel line, we should be able to make that happen. And there's the fuel plug right there. I don't know what those 2 plugs are. That plug there, don't know what that, oh, that's probably for the Speedo. Yeah, we're gonna be getting rid of that as well. But where we're at right now is I'm gonna start fabbing this up. This should be up in where the battery's at. So I'll get that out of the way. If we have to move any of this wiring, I will, but a lot of this stuff's really unnecessary. I can probably move a lot of this stuff over to here and out of the way so that we can clear up some space, because I think the only thing, this goes down in there, and then here's the ground. So I might be able to move some of it, might not need to, I don't know yet. A lot of things were deleted out of here, but let's just start fabbing stuff up. So I know it's gonna not, you guys aren't gonna see the vision yet, but we're gonna chill right about there, and we're gonna do 9 inches straight down, and then we're gonna do an angle right here, and basically make this section flat. It'll fit into the frame rails, and then we'll build a little, it'll go down into here for the pump. So that way there's a bottom part, everything is directed down at the bottom of the tank. And no matter what we do, it's always gonna be lighter than that tank, because that is made of steel, and this is gonna be made of aluminum. So, it would be cool to make it out of carbon, but I don't think we're gonna do that. Vision's getting there a little bit. Obviously I gotta clear that guy down there, so we might have to make a provision for it. But this will sit on the blocks. Oh, this is so tricky to do with one hand. but it'll kind of sit in there like that with a little bit of an angle. And then we're gonna go down in and try to like finagle everything. It's gonna be close. Doing this one-handed is kind of a bitch. We're gonna stay on top of that, so that should be perfect. We'll see, it's coming together. All right, so we finally got some pieces in. I ordered these. Unfortunately, I ordered too small, but it's fine, we're making do. So we got our first sheet right here. Now, like, this is literally just to protect the battery and everything under here, so when I sit, so we got one piece across that I have cut down, and both of them go into the same bolt hole. We might do something with it down the road, but you can see it pretty much sits up through the frame as perfectly as I could get it. And then we're also working on making the back piece now. So I got 3 of these pieces left. They're just thin little pieces of plastic. And we're gonna slide those underneath here. And we're gonna have one here and one here. And like I said, I will be cutting these down, shave even a little bit more weight, but I actually had another sheet here too. But basically, as we're on the bike, this is where it's gonna sit, and then the fuel cell will be right here. So it's coming together. It's exactly what I wanted. We'll try to figure something out with this maybe down the road. Maybe I do, maybe I don't. I'm not 100% worried about it. Yeah, let's get the back done, and then we can finally mount the tail 100%. And then we can start figuring out, okay, how does that fit, and when can we start getting our fuel cell in? This is kind of what I've come up with so far. I don't know if I'm gonna make it this tall. I might end up cutting it down, but that right there is what we got so far from the other. All right, here's what we got so far. So this is kind of where it's sitting. The only thing, I'd like to trim out some of the edges. And then probably, like I said, I think we will end up doing the rivet method. It's gonna have to happen. So it kind of sandwiches right here. It's not long enough to hit that, but I mean, it works. So, and we can reach down in here, but that's gonna be the goal, is to do away with that. So we'll probably drill a hole here, do 2 little rivets, and solidify that. So give me a minute, let's take this whole tail off again. And there you go. We got our block off for the seat. Trying to debate on if it's worth putting one through the middle, but I mean, for the most part, I don't know what you guys think. Maybe put one through the middle. I don't know, we'll see. If it becomes aerodynamic, we'll see. I'm gonna throw the tank back on and see where we're at with everything, because in theory all I got to do is put the tank back on and we can ride it. All right, this is where we're at right now. It's really not bad at all. Like, you really don't even feel it. Keep in mind, it's a sport bike. More track oriented at this point. We're going mainly for track shit. I'm probably gonna end up pulling this fairing off and doing away with the speed sensor. So this thing, we're sitting at 54,354 miles as of now. I want to see how this does. If it's poor, I'll definitely order the pieces to do another one, and then I'll just match this. But I do kind of like how this sheet was small, so it kind of goes to this perfectly rather than me trying to cut this and make my own edges. I think it works out a lot better. Sure, you get the ugly line right here, but it is what it is. Not super concerned about it. So I'm waiting on my detail guy. He's gonna be here in probably about 40-ish minutes. I got 2 customers coming in today, and then 1 for tomorrow, which is Sunday, but it's an emergency situation, so we're gonna do it. So what I'm thinking is I wanna keep this pedestal right here, and you can see how there's a nice crack right there. So what I'm thinking about doing is literally just cutting straight across to about right here and then straight down, which will still allow me to keep the spring mount, will keep structural integrity to this guy here, and we'll have a nice access point. So I'm gonna get this cut out and cleaned up, and I'll show you guys kind of what we're doing. All right, so we've been doing some cutting, got that out. Weighs probably absolutely nothing, but I decided that since it's off, I don't feel like doing this again for a while. So I decided just to throw a quick wheel paint on it. Wheel paint because it's aluminum. So I'm gonna let this dry, making sure I didn't miss any spots. We still get this guy over here, and this guy back here. Now, the reason I would love this thing to be like perfectly that way, but I can't do that because the spring goes right there. So this is where we're at. I'm not worried about the inside. It's aluminum. It's nothing's gonna happen to it, and it's gonna get coated in chain oil anyway. If I ever coat my chain, I don't think I've ever. I think I might have done this chain one time, but realistically, it would be cool if you could just have the sprocket out like that, like you have on the Cowies. But it is what it is. I want to be able to see that sprocket, be able to examine it, see what's going on with it. So we're gonna get the tank picked back up, and gonna see about unplugging this sensor, because this actually plugs in somewhere. I just got to go back up and figure out where it's at. So no more speedometer. So I can take the tape off of this guy here. I was like, oh yeah, I'll just wait and get used to it. And it's like, nah, you know what? It's a Saturday. I'm waiting on a bunch of customers to show up. I think we got 3 now coming today, and the detail guy. So let's just get rid of that now. All right, so got everything back on. I pulled this nut off and I flipped this around because on the other side, there's not enough surface area for this nut, so every time I'd torque it down, it just wasn't enough. And Vortex says the flat side goes towards the engine. Unfortunately, this washer isn't making full contact when I do that, so I flipped it around. It came loose again, so I put Loctite on it, and we should be good now. There we go. So now we can actually monitor this, but yeah, I was able to spin this washer. This bolt here is just for the speed sensor, but in case this washer fails, it's a nice backup. I am going to get rid of it eventually once we know that we don't have any problems. So just doing the alignment now. I'm going to get these guys pulled off and do the alignment quick and then go drive. Alright, so now that all that shit's done, we got that done. I can at least monitor this now. I don't think this will give me a problem anymore now that I flipped it around. The problem was the washer was only hitting about half of it. And common sense to me is that the beveled part, like the part that comes out a little bit, would go against the engine. But in the instructions, it says that part goes out. So I think that's what's been causing this to come loose. We'll monitor it, but make sure that this isn't going to go anywhere. It's aligned. We got less slop, and she does gnarly burnouts. Sorry I didn't film it for you guys. But I think the next step now that all of this is done is, 1, we're gonna go wash it, but 2, we're gonna pull this tank and start building out this fuel cell and start giving